Well, good evening, everyone. And without any further delay, a quick introduction about today's speaker, who is Mr. Pratyoosh Kumar, an enterprise transformation coach who brings with himself 18 years of IT delivery and agile transformation experience. He's a SAFe program consultant and certified trainer from Scaled Agile INC and has diverse agile knowledge and experience ranging from core Scrum, Kanban, and DevOps to Scaled Agile. He also holds several agile certifications such as SPC, CAL, ICP, ACC, and several others, including DevOps. In addition, he is an IBM accredited agile thought leader and an intellectual property creator as well.
Thanks for the quick introduction. Hi, good evening, everyone, or good afternoon if we are from different time zone. Without taking much time, I'll deep dive into what the topic is, what agenda is. So I think agile is the buzzword, right? So we'll be focusing on that, especially with enterprise agility, why enterprise agility is required, and why SAFe, which is one of the most popular framework that we know, is adopted so widely. So at a very high level, we'll touch all of them. We have limited time, that's 1 hour, so try to cover all of them. Feel free to ask question, as Sushil said, put it on chat, put it on Q&A, and then eventually we'll ensure that it's not a monologue, not everything from one way. We'll also pause in between, we'll discuss, and of course keeping in mind the time box of 1 hour, right? So let me start with the agenda for today. Roughly, I'll be covering these 4, which means evolution of organization, or how do we scale organization? Where does agile comes into picture, right? And especially when we talk about large organization, right? Large organization is always made up of a lot of different business units and all. What are the constraints of siloed agile implementation? So we'll talk about it, how SAFe helps us to overcome it, and why SAFe is so popular. So we'll touch upon all these 4 aspects. These are the 4 dimensions I'll be talking about. Okay, this is like a quick introduction of myself. I think Sushil has already covered it. Nothing to add. In fact, you'll find my LinkedIn page, my LinkedIn profile at the corner of every page if you want. Happy to connect with all of you, and so that we can continue learning. Now let's start with the very first thing, which talks about evolution and scaling of organization, right? As we said, right, agile is a buzzword, right? Everyone is talking about agile. There are a lot of organizations who have moved toward agile. There is hardly any organization, especially in corporate world, which does not talk about agile, which has not either moved into agile, or which has not started thinking about moving towards agile, right? Now if we ask a question to ourselves, why is it so, right? If we pose this question to all of you, I'm sure you'll come up with a lot of reason, right? Like agile helps us to build something which is very close to customer, right? Which is very close to what customer wants. Agile reduces the time to market, right? Agile is more flexible, right? So there are multiple reasons because of which we adopt agile, right? But if you ask a question again to those answers, why? Okay, so say for example, if we think that agile is something that helps us to create a product or provide a service which is very close to what customer wants, if you ask a question, was it not important, say 10 years back or 15 years back or 20 years back? It was still important at that point of time, right? But there's so much of dynamism in the market that we do not want to lose on it, right? We do not want to build a product which customer does not want. There is so much dynamism in the market that we want to reach the customer as soon as possible, and that's the reason we say it reduces turnaround time, right? Some of you will say it has got faster feedback loop, right? So why faster feedback loop? So that we adjust and accommodate, we adjust and we produce something which is very close to what customer wants. So there might be multiple reasons for this agile adoption. If you go to the root of that, it's all about how soon can we reach to the customer with a product which they want. And that's why we say that customer centricity is at the core of agile. Whenever we think of agile, right, whenever we think of a product, customer centricity is at the core. Everything is centered towards customer need, customers want, customers problem, solution to the customer's problem. And that's how we come up with a product. That's how we grow our organization. Now, when we talk about any large organization, because we are talking about enterprise agility, right? So, which by default means large organization. If we talk about large organization, any large organization starts small, right? We have multiple examples, numerous examples. Google started in a garage. Sorry, Amazon started in a garage, right? Google started in a lab, right? In a university lab. So every large organization that you see today starts small, right? So when you start small, you are very close to customer. Think of a startup, right? Think of a startup. Say, if we are having a startup, we are operating a startup, we day in day out work with customer, we talk to the customer, right? If a customer has a problem, they may, I mean, they won't feel, and they'll just call the CEO, right? You know what, you delivered this and this is where I am stuck, can you help me, right? And then maybe the CEO or someone who is technical, someone who's from that functional part, whosoever it, they will say, okay, fine, that's fine, can we come on Zoom and let me check what is the problem, let me solve this, right? Or maybe customer has not called, right, but you yourself will call and say, yes, yesterday we had that delivery, right, how was it, any did you like it, any suggestions that you have? So that's the level of customer centricity we have, working every day with customer, doing everything with customer in our mind. That's how we start. Now, if we start in such a good way, right, it's very natural, it's very obvious that we'll grow as an organization, right? And we grow. So what happens? Maybe with one or two customer, from one or two customer, we grow to a level of say 50 customers. Now, do you think if we have 50 customers, we'll be able to, have that level of connect, in the sense that, anyone who has any problem, right, they can call the CEO? It's difficult, right? Possible, but it's difficult. So what do? We'll create some structure, right? Okay, if you have a technical problem, this is the number. If you have a sales problem, this is the number, right? And we promise that your issue will be resolved within 24 hours. If it doesn't get resolved, this is my number, right? Or this is the number for sales head, this is the number for say technology head. You call them, and then we'll ensure that it is fixed. What we did, we added a layer between ourselves and customer, which is very obvious, which is very natural. We cannot grow beyond, we cannot grow and we cannot ensure that we answer to every customer's call. But then still it's fine, because if it is not resolved within 24 hours, they can always reach to us. What happens next? We grow further. We have got 500 customers now. And then this happens, doom. Somewhere you will realize that in this whole process, in the whole system, that customer centricity, right, this customer gets lost. That customer centricity gets lost. And that's where, problem starts happening. So what is the way around? What should we do? Should we not grow? Well, that's not a possibility, right? Every organization, every company, they want to grow, right? Should we descale the organization? Again, that's very difficult. So what should we do? Should we trash all that we need? No, that's not an option. We cannot trash all that we know. No, we cannot say that, okay, let's descale the organization, let's break it into 10 small units and then let's work as a group of startup. That doesn't work. I mean, in fact, there are few organizations who have tried, rather than scaling up, they descale organizations. So to have a group of, networked startups did not work. So the answer is not in trashing all that we know. Answer is not in trashing this functional hierarchy, right? Because there is an advantage of that, right? Functional hierarchy gives a governance which is required for large organization. Of course, when we talk about this hierarchy, we do not mean the hierarchy as it was in the earlier sense, a very tightly coupled hierarchy, a very defined hierarchy, right? What we mean is a very collaborative hierarchy. It has its own advantage, and this network of startup has its own advantage. Now this is where frameworks like SAFe comes into picture. They connect these two, the stability of functional hierarchy and the agility of value stream network. And it helps large organizations to scale up agility and infuse agility in your functional hierarchy. And that's the beauty of framework like SAFe. Now, since we are talking about enterprise agile, right? We are talking about agile all across the organization, all across the length and breadth of organization, right? We need to understand how big organizations are structured. There is a problem with large organization. The organizations are made up of different business units. Any large organization, if you think, different business unit, if not different business unit, different verticals, right, within the same business unit. And that's like different island that you see on the picture. It's different islands, although it's part of the same group, but practically they are different, right? For all practical purposes, these business unit itself becomes an organization within organization. These vertical itself becomes organization within organization. And many times they start competing with each other, right? That's one of the problem. Different silos, different units coming up in the organization. Second problem is when you talk about enterprise agility, right? We normally think that agile is limited to only development team, right? So only IT teams needs to be agile. So that's a big question. Can agile implementation be selective? What we mean is, can we decide that, okay, agile will be only implemented in IT, we do not need agile in non-IT, or even in IT, agile implementation is something that is required only for, say, software development part, not for maintenance and support, not for infrastructure. Or you might have heard people saying agile is good for development, not for custom made things like SAP and all, right? So can we really achieve the benefit of agility if we become selective? By selective, what I mean is selective, or say getting limited to one unit of your organization, or getting limited to only IT, or even within IT getting limited only to, say, certain type of work. That does not helps. If you talk about IT, the whole value chain needs to be agile. If you talk about development team, every development team that is related to that product or that, the complete chain needs to be agile, or else we will lose on agility. agility in pocket does not helps. You might see some, initial benefits, maybe, for some months, right? Or some initial benefits, but overall, it does not helps. I'll give you an example. Say we implement agile in development teams, right? Of course, and I'm saying development teams means all across the teams. Every team that is part of the same product line, they have implemented agile. They have got a very good collaboration. They are planning together. They're executing it together. Now, this has resulted into a very fast, building of the features, right? I'm not talking about delivery. I'm saying building. Why? Because see, any large organization, I mean, we all would have seen that any big product, right, cannot be delivered unless it meets some compliance requirement, right? You might have your internal governance within the organization. You might have some compliance requirement from industry as part of industry standards. You might have some compliance requirement from, say, government. So if you see in the whole flow, compliance is the check gate. Unless that check gate opens, how fast you build, your product will not pass through the check gate, right? So if your check gate is still the older way, not agile, right? You are building fast, there is a queue, there is a pipeline, in front of your check gate waiting for it to open. When it opens, it gets to the market. Now if you see, if situation is this, does it really makes any sense how fast you build if you are not able to reach to the customer fast, if your turnaround time is still the older one, or say because you're reaching late, right, your time to market is impacted, your feedback loop is impacted? It does not make sense. Well, there is a benefit of it that you're building it fast, but you are not getting the ultimate benefit. It is not reaching in the hands of customer. So in this example, even compliance needs to be agile. So it's not just development team, it's compliance also that requires to be agile. It's not just compliance, it's everything. Your finance needs to be agile, your HR needs to be agile. If you remember, there is a agile principle which talks about welcome changing requirement even late in development. Fine, good. We should welcome changing requirement even late in development. But what if your budget is fixed price? Budget is same, right? It's constant, it does not changes. Do you think we'll be able to welcome changing requirement if our budget is fixed? No, we cannot. Because maybe, for changing requirement, I mean, not in every case, but in few cases, changing requirement might need extra additional people, right? Maybe fast delivery would require additional tools and technology. And if budget is fixed for the year, we will not be able to welcome changing requirement, right? So budget needs to be dynamic, your finance needs to be dynamic. Same goes with HR, right? A shorter time for them, that it's not time to market, shorter onboarding cycle, so that as per requirement we can have fresh talent pool or fresh people onboarded. So they need to be agile, right? The sales need to be agile, the marketing need to be agile. In fact, every dimension of your organization needs to be agile. So not just limited to IT, not just limited to pockets within IT. So everyone, every team in IT, then every functional units of your organization needs to be agile. Then only you'll get the real benefit of agile. Without this, well, we may implement agile, we can have selective implementation of agile, but you will not get the real benefit of agile, what we want to achieve. So that's something very important. And that's what SAFe also proposes. So there, in fact, there is a principle called organize around value. Value is something that an end customer sees in our product, in our services. So if we have to deliver that value, right, of course we would need input from business, we would need input from hardware, software, testing, operations, everyone. But if you follow the siloed approach, it gets here, no one knows what happens, then it goes here, no one knows what happens, we will not be able to deliver in an agile way. So what we say is that value cuts across the silo. So value should be cutting across all these silo. So if you talk about the team, this is the team. Organize around value, not on technology, not as development team, testing team, not as front end team, back end team, not as UI UX team, development team and testing team. Do not organize around technology. Do not organize around geography. Geography like India team, US team, right? If you are working towards one value delivery, few people from here, few people from there, you are one team and you organize around that. Similarly, do not organize around the units, the different organizations. Many times for large product delivery organization, they will have different outsourced contract, right? So maybe development is given to vendor A, testing is given to vendor B, and say support is given to vendor C. And this has been an old contract, right? New agile contracts take care of this. But say imagine it's an old contract, 10 years old contract, right? So that's how it is. Now what we mean is organize around value means when we are creating a team which picks something and delivers it, right? We should not be having team something like team for vendor A, team for vendor B, team for vendor C. Rather, your team should contain people from vendor A, vendor B, vendor C. And once they pick anything, they deliver the value. So that's one of the safe principle. Second thing is apply systems thinking, which means apply a very holistic thinking. That will help us to solve this problem. Because when we talk about large organization, these units itself become so centric towards their growth, their profit, right? That at times we do not realize they start competing with each other. And that's not really good for the organization. So create an environment wherein there is a holistic view, right? A very systemic view. Everyone has, when they see anything, when they see a problem, when they try to identify a solution, they see the whole system. You might have observed, right? In large organization, in one business unit, you have, say, a person with X skill set on bench, another business unit is hiring for the same, right? So that's a loss to the organization, right? And why is it? Because these business units, they did not talk to each other. So whatever you are doing, right, whatever you are planning, have that systemic view in everything that we do. Any initiative, anything, a collaboration between all these different units of the organization. That's very important. And in fact, the two that I have talked about are two principles of SAFe out of 10 SAFe principles, right? So enterprise agility is a challenge in the sense that because of structure of the organization, because of siloed approach and multiple things, right? Hierarchy and flexibility, the network do not syncing up properly. And SAFe actually helps in that, right? SAFe helps us to overcome those challenges. One, because of this, we have already discussed. And that's the reason we also call SAFe as a dual operating system. An operating system which takes care of hierarchy, right? Functional hierarchy gives us the stability of functional hierarchy, and also which infuses the agility of value stream network, the one that we have for any startup. right? So it infuses that agility into the functional hierarchy. Plus, SAFE as a framework is guided by 10 principles. And these 10 principles are very powerful. They actually help us to scale up agility. Principles like, in fact, few of them we have already discussed, like systems thinking, organize around value, right? Have taking a very high economic, approach while strategizing, while planning, right? Things like when you have large organization, right? You will have lot of teams. Then you will have lot of teams of team. How do they collaborate? How do they sync? How do we ensure that everyone is working towards the same goal? While they will have their own goal, but those goals should be achieved to the larger goal. How do we ensure that, right? So that's where this comes into picture, right? Apply cadence. How do we apply that? How do we synchronize with all cross domain planning? Large organization, we cannot afford every team to fail and learn from their failure. Then that's where this comes into picture. How can we have an integrated learning cycle? Of course, fast by default is in design of agile. How that could be integrated, right? And a lot of principles, right? Things like we are talking about a long lived team, a persistent team, right? How can we have our people staying with us for long? How can we ensure that they are motivated, right? This talks about it, right? How do we empower our people, right? In large, I mean, in any agile organization, right? We talk about empowered team, right? We talk about self-organizing team, which includes those teams are empowered to take their own decisions. How do we ensure that? We have principle around it. How do we decentralize decision making, right? So there are a lot of principles around it, right? And these set of principle actually makes SAFE a very powerful framework towards enterprise agility, right? So that helps us to achieve agility at all length and breadth of organization, which means that helps us to achieve organizational agility, that helps us to achieve business agility. Now there is slight difference between the two. Organizational agility means agility all across the organization, and business agility means agility in your business planning, your strategy, your creation of vision, your roadmap, and how that is aligned to the vision of every product, and how that is aligned to the vision of and then to every team. So team's vision aligned to product vision aligned to your organization vision, and agility over there. Because it's difficult to get to Fortune 500 list, it's even more difficult to stay there, and business agility helps us to stay there. What is the level of agility that we have at strategy level? How agile we are in changing our strategies, or shifting towards, or say adapting towards change in, or the business environment, or maybe a competitor's say a disruptor would have entered, and how we have dealt with that situation. So that's very important. And all this, these 10 principles actually helps us to achieve that. Now, having said that, right, and that is one of the reason, if you um, ask anyone, right, which is the most popular scaled agile framework, scaling agile framework, SAFE is the answer. And that is not based on what we think, what randomly people say, but that is proved by a lot of surveys. There is a very important survey called State of Agility report. So if you Google it, you'll find the latest one is 15th State of Agility report. So that's a report wherein in fact that's a PDF, you can always download it, and there is a lot that is you'll find a lot of questionnaires over there, right? Have you implemented agile? If you have not implemented agile, what was the reason for that, right? In case you have implemented Agile, what are the challenges that you see? What are the challenges that you face, right? What are the tools you are using? Which framework are you using? And one of the question is, which is the scaling Agile framework that you are using? For the first time, when they asked this question, that was in the year 2014. And the report that you see here towards the left hand side is 2014 report. And you will find that, of course, Scrum of Scrum, right? That's like a kind of arrangement wherein different Scrum masters connect, and then they manage the whole show of different Scrum teams rolling up at next level. That was number one, which is not a framework, that's an arrangement. Then number two was internally created framework, right? Something like organizations have themselves developed their own framework. And number three was SAFe. So it was the number three frame, in the list, but the first framework. That was the first framework. And since 2014 till last year, 2021, right? When the latest report was, published, the 15th State of Agility report, SAFe has been number one framework. In fact, here also it is number one, but it is at this level 3, right? The third stage. Since last few, if I remember correctly, I think since last 3 or 4 for sure, SAFe has been the number one. Number two keeps on changing, but number one is always SAFe. And if you'll download all those reports, you'll find that the popularity or adoption of SAFe is increasing every year. So the latest one is 37%. If I remember correctly, the last one was 28, 29%. Before that, it was 26%. So it's consistently increasing. And that's the reason, you'll find a lot of people doing SAFe certifications and interest in that. So when we talk about popularity of SAFe, of course, there will be a natural question in your mind. What is it that makes SAFe so popular, right? What is it that people who are, moving towards a framework for scaling Agile are implementing SAFe, right? The answer to that is the whole implementation of SAFe is very evolutionary. The whole implementation of SAFe is very evolutionary. So we can get into that, we'll discuss that. But before that, I just wanted to check if we have any question in the question box.
Anyone from the audience, do you have any questions for us so far? Seen Dipashri Jha, who left a comment earlier. Dipashri, anything that you would like to share with us? Okay, not a problem.
No.
So no questions so far, Pratyoosh. Yeah, let's
Fine.
continue.
So yeah, I just thought of taking a pause and checking if you have any question. Then accordingly we'll discuss. Okay, fine. Then let's get back to this. So the major reason for this is the way we do this transformation, the way we implement SAFe in any organization. That's the major reason. And as I said, the evolutionary implementation. See, there are two ways to change anything. One is evolutionary, second is revolutionary. Revolutionary is something like I come to you and then I'll say, well, we are going to change. This is what we are going to change to. From tomorrow, we are going to change. And all that we have been doing, or maybe if not tomorrow, if you want to give some time, maybe a week or a month, right? Say from 1st August, we are going to work this way, right? And all that we have been doing will be stopped. And this is how we have to work. So things will change from this day, right? 1 week from now. Fine. Which means we are immediately discarding everything that all the processes, everything that we have been doing. And we immediately follow the new way of working, right? That's a revolutionary way of change. You change immediately. Well, that's, it has its own advantage in the sense that you get sudden change immediately. You don't spend much time to change, but practically that's not possible. Any organization, when they implement any scaling framework, right, that organization is already operating. It's like a car that you are driving and you have to change the engine. Now that's the situation. You cannot afford to stop the organization and change. You have to ensure that organization is running, organization is operating. There is no impact on revenue, no impact on your customer satisfaction, and you change it. That cannot be done the revolutionary way. That can be done only in a very evolutionary way, and that's where SAFe helps. So, well, this is what you see on the screen is the implementation roadmap of SAFe, which is like, it takes some time to explain, but I'll tell you at a very high level, at a very high level, so that you understand why we say that it's a evolutionary way of change. So if you see here, any organization, when it is operating, it is at this stage. The organization is operating, it is maybe operating in waterfall or ad hoc agile or something like that. And because of any reason, they decide that let's go SAFe, right? At this point of time, we are not getting into deep of what might invoke or what might maybe the reason why they decided to go SAFe, but at a very high level, they decided let's go SAFe. At that point of time, it is very important that leadership understands what is SAFe, right? SAFe has got a lot of trainings, right? And that's part of your implementation plan. At different stages of implementation, you need to be equipped with that knowledge, right? So at that stage, the leadership does SAFe Agilist or SGP, SAFe for government. If it's an enterprise, they will do SA, SAFe Agilist, or leading SAFe. It's the same, the training is called leading SAFe, the certificate is SAFe Agilist. Or if it's a government enterprise, they will do SGP. Once they have sorry, once they have done it, then they will decide, okay, let's go SAFe. Now they will create a group of people, or I would say guiding coalition, that guides the organization through the SAFe, throughout this journey, throughout this implementation. They will hire some Scaled Agile partner. In fact, KnowledgeHut is one of the gold partner for Scaled Agile, so they will hire that. And they will also have this training implementing SAFe done, so that they also create few SPCs from the organization. So which means few people, Scaled Agile partner, who already have knowledge of implementing SAFe, plus few people, they they equip them with this SAFe knowledge and all, who knows local context, so external as well as internal, and they form a guiding coalition who will guide us. Now at that stage, for the next stage, they train all the leaders and executive at the higher level, so that they also know what is SAFe, right? At that point of time, we have trainings like SAFe Agilist, LPM. Now what happens after this? So leadership executives, they are already trained, they know what SAFe is, they know what this change will look like, and we get a buy-in from them that, okay, let's start with this, because it is very much required that we have support from them, right? Once that is done, right, then actually these people, right, these people, they actually go ahead and then they start study of the organization. Okay, how many business lines you have? In each business line, what are the different products that you have? Or say in each business line, do you have one product line or different product lines, right? Then in each product line, how many products do you have, right? So we try to understand what is your current organization, and based on that, we create the future organization. We identify different portfolios in the organization. We identify different value stream. So portfolio may be something like, just for a high level understanding, like your business line, different value stream, which is your product line, different product, which is your solution. And we map your current organization to a future state of organization. And that's the blueprint that is created. And remember, this is agile. So this is not fixed, it will change. Once we have this ready, then we come up with an implementation plan. How are we going to implement? Which product line first? In that product line, which, say, product or solution first, right? So we try to identify that. Once we have identified that, right, and we come up with a plan, right, and then we socialize this plan to gain feedback so that we can change the plan accordingly. Once we get to the consensus with this plan, then we start, and we identify one art. For those who are new to a safe term, art for now you can understand it as a group of teams working towards one product line, although there is further refinement required, but at a very high level. So we identify one art, not multiple arts, one art from one product, and then we prepare their people for transformation, which means we'll have safe agilist for managers, POPM for product owner, product manager, SSM for scrum master, safe for architect for system architects. We prepare them. Once they are prepared, and then of course before launching art and all, once they are prepared, once they know what safe is and how this change will look like, what will be the impact on them, then we based on the feedback, if required, we make again some changes in the plan, and then we decide, okay, let's start or let's launch safe in this art from this state. And that's where we train the developers, safe for team. So did you realize the approach? The first one to be trained is the executive. In this series, the last one is the developer, because we need support from executive and support from them to create that culture. And that's where we start. So the first art is launched. First art, a large organization, just imagine maybe three business say three business line. Each business line having suppose 3 product line, so 9 product line. Each product line suppose 3 say product, so 27 solutions, right? And say each solution is having say 2-3 arts. Now you can imagine how many, right? Somewhere 50 plus, 54, 55, right? 54. And if that is the case, we are starting with only 1 out of 54, right? And then we coach them for some time. Once this happens, right, then we pick another art from the same product line, right? Third art from the same product line. And then once we we get to that level wherein we are confident, right, then we start launching more arts, more solutions, more value stream, right, more product line and all. And then we extend to the portfolio level. Portfolio is the place wherein we talk about dynamic budgeting, we talk about participatory budgeting, we talk about thinking of very high level epic, doing MVP, MMF, creating a business case around every epic, getting it approved, getting budget approved, and testing it through MVP, MMF, and then launching a solution. So dynamism over there. How can we have dynamic budgeting? I talked about dynamic budgeting, right? How can we have, right? How can we have a very dynamic, how can our planning, our strategy, our roadmap could be dynamic? So all that we discuss, and then we get to the next level. Now this whole implementation takes a lot of time. It takes maybe roughly around a decent size organization 3 to 4 years, not less than that. But this process is very evolutionary. Remember, in our example, out of 54, we started with one art, only one art. Then we get to the other art in the service line, sorry, in the same product, right? Then get to the product line. I'm using these term product line and all. The generic term, I'm not using safe term, because like safe, I use value stream, I use solution train. You know, for those who are new to safe, I mean, or not familiar with it, it might be difficult, right? So that's how it is. So we start, slow, we start small, and slowly, as we, onboard more and more art, we gain momentum. And whenever we say start slow, start small, obviously feedback loop is part of that. So we launched one art. Okay, what was the feedback in first PI? Okay, improve this, improve that. Let's do like this. Let's do like that. So slowly, see, we have not changed anything. The whole key of evolutionary change is here, this step, where we are mapping the current organization with future organization. And once that blueprint is created, slowly and gradually we change. So while your organization is still operating at the same level, right, while machine engine is still running, we change that. And that's the beauty. Anyone, in executive layer will want, a change which does not impact their current delivery. They will want a change which is more acceptable to people. They will want a change which is more sustainable. And that's where safe is. So that's the reason safe is very popular. And in fact, here on the screen you will find all these trainings, right? So although this is part of implementation roadmap, but at the same time these trainings are something which is also could be done externally, right? So like safe agilist, the one that you see done by executive, right, by senior leaders, by leader at every level, right? Safe agilist, this is a training which actually talks about the whole framework, right? It gives you a complete idea about the framework. So that's a very popular one. Then we have a lot of other certifications which are very role specific. Like for a Scrum Master, we have SSM, this one, and SASM, Safe Scrum Master and Safe Advanced Scrum Master. For product owner, we have this one, Safe POPM, this one, and Safe APM, Agile Product Manager, right? So that's for the product line. Then there are few generic, like very specialized one, like Safe for Architect, Safe DevOps, right? Safe Agile Software Engineering, right? So there are a lot of certifications in Safe which deals with different role and also framework in general.
First is by Deepak, and he asks, how many manufacturing company are going the agile way?
Okay, I will not be able to answer exact number, because there are multiple reasons for that. Not every manufacturing company reports that to safe, and also that is at times because of strategic in nature. They do not want that to be done. But there are a lot of manufacturing companies that have moved to safe. In fact, if you refer safe website, there is a section called safe case studies. So all those who are okay to reveal their name and who are fine with that, that is mentioned over there. So you can go over there and then you will find familiar name, and you can do it. So there are a lot of organization in manufacturing. I have seen in fact, it's, if you go there, you'll find almost every sector: hospitality, uh, say healthcare, aviation, almost everywhere safe is implemented. In fact, just to add to it, last few months I have been observing, especially during my trainings and discussions, or maybe some meetups and all, a lot of construction industry, and a lot of organization in construction industry, right, they are moving towards safe. And especially I've seen this now this growing interest in Asia Pacific region. So I remember in last 3 to 4 months, I would have got at least 3-4 cases when I have come across someone from the construction industry. So it's all across. So the spectrum is very wide. I hope that answers to your question. I mean, all, or it gives you a pointer where to, get that detail.
Thanks, Pratyoosh. The second question is by Dipasshi, and she asks, what is the measurement of maturity before extending in portfolios? Are there any guidelines? And this
Yes,
question is related to implementation roadmap.
yes, you're right. So again, the maturity is something that is, there is no fixed guidelines from SAFe, right? I mean, I would say there's nothing fixed like, okay, as if you have achieved this 10, you can do. That's something that organization, decides at all the level, whether, for after how many, what is the maturity you will reach before you launch it to a different value stream, or when you have launched to multiple value stream, how will you extend it to SAFe, right? So I'll give you one example. I mean, one of the assignment, right? It was, we were quite mature till the delivery part, which means if someone is familiar with SAFe big picture, that was still large solution level, right? But because of lot of challenges with budgeting and all, the organization was struggling when it came to dynamic budgeting, right? So although we had portfolio management, other part of it, strategy and all was taken care, but dynamic budgeting was a problem area over there. And we finally, I mean, it took some time for us, around if I remember correctly, 8 to 9 months, and then we it got operational. But as I said, depends on the organization. The way you cannot say, I mean, how can you say, for example, the question is, someone asks you, how can you say that your team is mature? We can say a few pointers, right? But that will differ from organization to organization, and especially when you talk about portfolio, right? It has lot many things. It has things like budget. It has things like strategy. It is also depends on what kind of leadership you have, right? So depends. So normally what happens at organization level when we get into those consulting, right? Based on that, we come up with the first level of thing, like, okay, these are the thing. Then we'll say, okay, fine, we can extend it to portfolio level. And that's again something that we constantly, as we have more and more team onboarding, and parallelly we are talking with portfolio leadership, at that point of time we refine it. So no standard guidelines for this.
Pratyoosh, this is Sunil Sahani here.
Yeah, hi,
I'm a
Sunil.
new Scrum. Actually, I'm a Scrum Master. I'm assigned for the infrastructure as a service team and the platform as a service. So now, down the line, probably in a couple of months, we are moving into SAFe. So I have no idea, no clue about SAFe. I'm working it. So I need some little tips and some uh, top points, bullets that to prepare myself moving into SAFe.
Okay, so do you mean a very high level understanding of SAFe?
That should be fine. Yes.
Yeah. So what I would suggest, to start with, right, the best place wherein you can refer for anything related to SAFe is this website. Scaled Agile
Okay.
Framework.com. This is like
Sure.
Bible of SAFe. Anything and everything about SAFe is here. So you can get a very high level idea about it. Now, the challenge with this website is, again, it has got a lot of information, but for someone who is starting, right, you need some focused, say, knowledge before we actually deep dive and you start exploring, right? So what I would suggest, start with some, take a basic course like Leading SAFe.
Okay.
This talks about SAFe as an as a framework as a whole, right? So take this course, which is also, I mean, once you take this, you will be called as SAFe Agilist.
Mm-hmm.
This will give you a good idea. This also talks about systems team, right, where all this infrastructure and all is done. This also talks about where platform team fits into an art agile release train that we talked about, right? So it talks about where that platform team fits into art. right? What is the importance and what should be the mix of platform team and stream aligned team? Stream aligned team means journey aligned team, some a team that directly connects or whose services is directly consumed by end customer, right? So it will touch upon those points, plus it will give you a very good idea about safe as a whole, right? So maybe you can start from here, and then of course it's a this learning is a journey, right? So you can
No,
continue
no,
from there.
that's good. Thank you so much. Actually, I was planning for that Safe Scrum Master. I was not aware of leading Safe, but this is good piece of information. I'll start with the leading Safe first, and then deep dive into this Safe Scrum Master. Thank you so much.
There's one more question that is, what's the difference between agile and agility by Joglekar Nagmi?
Okay. Agile and agility, right? The term itself you can understand. Agility is the behavior, right? The outcome of being agile, right? When you become agile, you you exhibit the agility, right? So if you go by dictionary meaning, right, agile is swiftness, right? How swift, how fast you are. And then of course agility means, right, what is how swift you are, right? Agile is swiftness, agility is how swift you are. So agility is a behavior that you reflect when you become agile.
Pratyush, so moving on to the next question, Oliver asks, as a new Scrum Master, should I take Safe Scrum Master or Leading Safe?
Well, if you are already practicing Scrum Master, you can directly take Safe Scrum Master, because even Safe Scrum Master, see, we should always understand what is our what are we trying to achieve, right? So if you are a Scrum Master and you are looking forward for a very role based course, right, then I would say go for Safe Scrum Master, right? In Safe Scrum Master also, as part of Safe Big Picture, a very high level overview is covered, right? And for your role to be expert in your role, or to be get to the next level of Scrum mastery, what you would need is more of skills that is required to be a great Scrum master, right? Like how do you coach people, how do you act as a servant leader, right? How do you resolve conflict, right? So those are the things that is taken care in Safe Scrum Master. And of course that course is within this umbrella of Safe, so which means it will cover everything about Safe. I mean, of course not in that depth, because you have different courses for everything, but you'll get a good level of understanding of Safe as a framework, plus you will deep dive into your role. So I think that will be better for you.
We've come to the end of our today's session, and I'd like to express a heartfelt gratitude to Pratyush to begin with for a wonderful session, and also a big thank you to our audience who joined us today. We would certainly like to see you for our future webinars as well. So kindly refer to the KnowledgeHut website, where we will update you on more safe related webinars that we will be conducting with Pratyush over the coming not just weeks but months as well, right? And feel free to get in touch with us. We'll be more than happy to address any of your questions. And until then, I wish you all a very good evening. Have a great weekend.